All right. Tonight we are going to be talking about killer sloths. Um, it's a Kickstarter that creator I'm gonna mispronounce his name, but uh, it is Steve. Oh crap! This is so bad.
You're almost there. You're almost there. We got this. Let's hear it.
Urena.
Yeah, you got it. Steve
Oh
Urena.
good. Oh good. Let me go ahead and bring him in because.
Hey everybody.
But
That's a good start
yeah,
to the show.
yeah, great. It's a very professional thing right here that I do.
It's all good. I've been hearing it, my whole life. I mean, obviously, with a last name like Urena, you're going to hear some things. I've been called Steve Uranus, Steve Urethra, Steve, you're an asshole. So I've heard the whole gamut.
Huh? Well, I'm glad that I at least got it right for
Yes, you
once.
did. I appreciate that.
All right, before we get talking about your Kickstarter slowpokes, do you remember the first comic book that you read, or maybe the one that kind of hooked your interest in the medium and hobby?
Sure. So I remember my first comics memory. I was in the hospital. I had to have been about maybe 7 or 8, maybe even younger, maybe 6. And I was in the hospital with a disease called HSP, which for 2 weeks it was kind of rough. Being a kid and not really knowing what was going on. Luckily, everything was okay. But my dad gave me Spider-Man comics, and those were the first comics that I read, like the Amazing Spider-Man. I remember Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man cover where he's hanging out, with the webs all around him. I think Spider-Man #1. I think that was actually the first comic that I can remember. I might have read something before that, but I definitely remember that covered very vividly, especially as a kid.
And what made you want to write? Become a writer yourself.
So I've been a writer for since I was 15, and I just love it. Like I love the blank page. A lot of people have issues with writer's block and things like that. For me, a blank page is basically anything could happen, anything can go down, anything can be made, and I loved writing so much that I pursued it. I went through it in I've had a love for it, and I went through high school, and the teachers that I had were very good, and they saw that I was very passionate about writing, and I would move from the regular class to like the honors classes, and then that kind of brought me to writing in college, where I majored in communications and journalism, and then from there I've had like I love writing so much that I like learning about different forms of writing. So sports writing, I used to work for the New York Bears. I used to work for UFC. I did stuff for Maxim. I'm a copywriter currently, and just I love writing and I love just creating. So I think that's what drove me to writing.
Oh, let's start talking about slowpokes. And while I'm going to play the video on the Kickstarter page, and then why don't you tell me about um, what influenced this story? Where did the idea come from for killer sloths?
So the story comes from a few years ago. I was messing around with friends, and we were talking about all the crazy sci-fi movies that were coming out. I think they were doing like the eighth or ninth edition of Sharknado or something like that. So I was like, "Oh, what are they going to do next? Like sloths that become fast and become killing machines?" And I've always had that idea in the back of my mind to do something with. I just never thought it would be in comic form. Um, I ended up taking comic book writing classes because it's something I've always wanted to do and try. And one of the things they had are like, pick an idea for your one shot. And I was like, this would be actually a pretty fun one shot to do, and I could just entertain myself. And if I'm terrible at it, at least I have like a story. I tried to do fast killer sloths, and in the class, it got a lot of good feedback. So I was like, you know what? I think I might have something here. So I might as well try to get it printed and share it with the world.
And so this was your first time writing a comic book, correct?
So this is actually my second time writing a comic, but this is my first original story. So
Okay.
a funny thing, I did a comic book for Blue Water Studios called about John Wayne, and it was definitely when I was like 22, maybe 23,
Hmm.
and I didn't know what I was doing, and I just wanted to write a comic, so I reached out to them. I used to write for this website called Indie Reader, and I would interview independent comic book artists and writers about their Kickstarters. And I was like, "Oh, how could I get into this?" And they're like, "Oh, we're looking for stuff if you just want to submit." So I did a comic about John Wayne, and I'm sure it was okay. I think now it's a lot better with Slowpokes, my writing
Yeah.
ability anyway. But yeah, that's kind of how I got started. But Slowpokes is my first original story. I'm very excited to share with the world about fast killer sloths that just kill everybody.
All right. Well, okay. Uh, Along with the killer sloths, who are the main characters of the story, and kind of what's the what do they have to deal with, or are they trying
Sure.
to stop the sloths?
So the main characters, the real main character's name is London James, and he is embarking on his final night of high school. So I kind of drew from experiences from my childhood or my growing up, and we had this thing called project graduation. So after graduation for high school, we would go to this kind of like indoor amusement park, and everybody just kind of has like one last night. So that's basically where the setting of this is. But it is inside of a lab of one of my other main characters. Her name is Eden Rare, and she is kind of like a scientist, kind of like a Bill Gates type of like the woman who ran Theranos. I don't know if you're familiar with that documentary, like Steve Jobs type of person who's always about doing experiments and trying to make the world a better place. So she is trying to uh, make them breed faster to save the species in the comic, and then all hell breaks loose. So that's kind of what happens, and it happens all on this final night of high school.
So, tell me about how did you who are who else are you're the creative team, who's the artist, and how did you get paired up with them?
So the artist, his name is Juan Romera, and the letterer, his name is Sean Reinhart. And I went through Comics Experience, the school that I went through, and they paired me up with them for this comic, and I couldn't be happier. Everything they did was exactly what I had kind of in my imagination, and they just made it better.
What I mean, was it something about their style that you know
Yes.
you
Uh,
speaks?
I definitely wanted to have more of a style where it was more fun. Because it's killer sloths. Like you got people who are reading it are they know what they're getting into. So I wanted it to be bloody. I wanted it to be fun. I wanted it to stand out. And Juan Romera's art is just incredible, and I think it works very well for slowpokes.
So let's talk a little bit about the Kickstarter. I mean, I'm looking at it now, and it looks like at this time you've already met your goal. But kind of what are your pledge levels for people, and do you have any stretch goals in mind?
So stretch goals, I think I've exhausted all the ideas of things that I can do, I guess, within this time period. But for the next Kickstarter, hopefully next year at some point, I definitely want to do some more stretch goals. But right now, it's just about getting it into as many hands as I can. But it starts out with the digital version of the comic, digital version of the comic plus an extra 5-page story that I did, which will go with that. The printed version, there's T-shirts, there's posters, there's a version where tomorrow we're releasing or tomorrow October 1st we're releasing our official Slowpokes theme song. That's in one of the levels that I helped write with my good friend Blake Rains. So like I was saying, shirts, posters, and then the high ticket item for $150, you yourself can get yourself killed by a slowpoke in the second version of Slowpokes or the second edition of Slowpoke. So all fun stuff, hopefully, and I everybody has been wanting a little bit of everything, so that's been a very fun experience to check out.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite character in the series you enjoyed writing more
Yes.
or the
So
most?
Karate Carlos is the best friend of London James. He's shown right there with I know karate shirt, and just he's such a lovable character, and I just maybe a little bit of me is inside him too. But I just feel like the the possibilities are endless with Karate Carlos. And fun fact, there was actually somebody we went to high school with, and we called him Karate Carlos. Like this kid was just obsessed with karate and anime, and like it's not really based on him. Just the name is based on him, but it's he's a lot of fun to write.
So I believe I heard you. Did I hear you correctly that this is just kind of like a singular book, or do you have a hopefully hope to do like a series involving?
So I would love to do a series of more slow books. I definitely have more ideas. I have an idea for a second one and like kind of how it would go because it's kind of like my homage to, horror movies, just horror movies and those
Yep.
ridiculous horror movies you would see if you're going to Blockbuster and you're like, oh, there's a horror movie called The Ice Cream Man. What is that? Or there's a horror movie called The Dentist. What is that? Or like Critters or any of those type of horror movies. So I definitely have an idea and I definitely wanted to go as ridiculous as I can and just keep pushing the limits of that until I can't do it anymore. But the hope is the hope of this is to collect the money for this and use the money towards writing more comic projects. So the next project I have in mind, when I get it finished, I will probably make an announcement. But I'm hoping that is first, and then Slowpokes 2 would probably come right after that.
Now, this being your first Kickstarter, are you kind of surprised at the reception that it's received? I mean, I
Yes.
I think I mean you seem to have a very reasonable goal, and as of right now, you've already more than doubled it.
So I am very surprised by the reaction, and I thought people would like it, but I didn't think as many people that have backed it were going to back it. So since this is my first one, and like I've never really written anything before that of this magnitude, I just didn't think anybody would care. I thought it would be just like my friends would be like, he's writing a sloth comic. Maybe there's something wrong. Maybe he needs the money, or like maybe something's going on. Maybe he's going crazy. I thought maybe it was going to be just that and maybe a few backers here and there, but now it is like there are of course friends of mine have gotten this, but now it's a lot more people that I don't know checking this out. So the pressure's on, but it's definitely been a big surprise. And then to go way past my goal is even crazier. So I intend to use that money towards making more comics and more, and you just keep taking that money and just doing more until there's no more or until nobody wants to see me write Slowpokes 11 and a half or whatever.
The quickening.
Exactly.
so so are you currently reading anything in whatever free time you have that you recommend or think people should check out?
Right now, and I'm extremely late to this party, but I have Stray Bullets in my queue, and I come for things there's a lot going on at work, so I haven't really had time to dive into like a bigger comic, but that's the next one that I'm looking for. I've definitely been looking through random comics on Marvel Unlimited because it's just an awesome service of you can go back so far and just look around. I love using their random comic feature. I was a huge Green Lantern fan, not flan. Uh, that's something else. But I always loved, Black as Night is such an incredible story, and so a lot of people with Green Lantern, they always love Hal Jordan. I'm a big Kyle Rayner fan. Like when Green Lantern, went from Hal Jordan to Kyle Rayner, and I feel like he gets forgotten about a ton, and I don't understand why. Or I know he's kind of like maybe like a side character now, but going back, I was like, man, why did they go back? Why didn't they go back to him? Um, So I just need to do some more deep diving.
If you want, I interviewed Ron Mars a couple months ago, and he
That's
was the one
awesome.
who wrote and created Rainers.
Yeah, I always loved his stuff. Like maybe I related to him more because he was like Hal Jordan is great, but like Kyle Rayner, I feel like just I growing up, I felt like him, like he was an artist, like he always had cool costumes and things going on. He always had cool storylines going on. So I don't know. I also love, uh, I've been watching the Watchmen show, which is really good. So yeah, just but I and was it Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is really good on Marvel as
Yep,
well.
all good series. I'm also kind of late to the game. I'm have to finish up the Watchmen series. So
Yeah, the best thing about that show is that I love how it's like a sequel to Watchmen, but if somebody's new to it, they could still understand like what's going on. But if you read the Watchmen comic beforehand, you'll pick up on so many different things. And that to me is like that's a home run right there.
now, are there any comic writers that you particularly kind of learned to learn from, try to influence your writing?
I mean, I love like you're saying Ron Mars with Kyle Rayner, Frank Miller stuff. Everybody loves him, but I love Garth Ennis, like the guy who did with Preacher, and just like shocking the world. Shock as much as you can, but like make it make sense. So I definitely have that mindset with Slowpokes. To just do as the craziest thing I could possibly do, but entertain in a fun way.
Hmm. So, I mean, kind of a big, I guess, what, but is there a character maybe in the Marvel or DC, sandbox that you would particularly like to play with? Maybe Kyle Rayner.
Yeah, Kyle Rayner bringing him back would be awesome. Definitely Green Lantern. I mean, everybody would love Batman or Superman. I would love Plastic Man because I feel like he doesn't get enough love in the DC universe, and I feel like he could be a lot more fun and explosive and over the top, and that's kind of like my style. Love the
Yep.
Flash, Spider Man. I always related to as a kid, so Spider Man would be great. Um, you know, those are the ones that stick out in my mind, just the ones that I guess I read as a kid. But just there's so many characters. I just want to be a goofball and have fun and create characters. But if anybody is willing to give me a chance to write something that is established, I'm all for it.
Is anything else you want to mention about Kickstarter that maybe I didn't ask you about?
So yeah, the theme song comes out tomorrow. I'm very excited to share the world with that. Me and one of my best friends, Blake Rains, who's a very talented singer. We put together the song. He came up with the beat and most of the lyrics. I came up with some of the hook and a few lyrics here and there. And I'm just very excited to see what the world thinks about it tomorrow. um, and and like to see if I can continue with doing more theme songs for comic books. 'Cause I feel like there's not. Maybe there are some. Maybe I just am not looking. But I feel like when you think of comic
Hmm.
book, you don't think theme song. So
Yeah.
for this, I wanted to make sure I just wanted to stand out as much as possible.
It definitely caught my attention when you sent me the link to look at, and it also the fact that you're relatively local
Yes,
here.
I'm from New Jersey, but I'm living in
Mhm.
Connecticut. I'm going back and forth between my
Oh,
girlfriend and my family, during these crazy times.
yep. I understand. So, why don't you give like a final pitch for the series, and also if you want to include where people can find you on, social media or stuff like that, they can follow your other stuff. Then be great.
Sure. So my 5 minute pitch for anybody watching this right now, Slowpokes is a slapstick sloth comic filled with slaughter and lots of laughs and lots of fun and lots of great art. I don't know what else you need because it's sloths that become fast and go crazy. Sloths are absolutely horrifying if you look at them up close. They have claws and crazy looks on their faces, and they move weird. So I think this is the nightmare fuel that you need. I want to give a shout out to Kristen Greco, who made the video. Vertebrae 33, who made the poster. So if you slide down, you can see the poster and the T-shirt on the Kickstarter.
Let me just do.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Nope.
Yep. Go a little further.
There's.
So there's a shirt, which looks like it's one of the slowpokes coming out of your chest. So that's one of our items. And then this, the one after is a poster by Vertebrae 33, who is extremely talented with his Shining inspired poster there.
Yeah, and he also just the one I.
Oh, go ahead.
I know that when I was putting together, like, you want to call it the title card, that's the kind of one that kind of stuck out. This was the one that kind of stuck out to me.
Yeah, so Vertebrae awesome. 33 is extremely talented artist. He actually just got a Rick and Morty shirt done at Hot Topic, which you can see if you go on their shop and just type in Rick and Morty Vertebrae 33, it'll pop up. So shout out to all of them. Shout out to Blake Rain. Shout out to Brian Donono, who did my logo, and everybody else who's supporting Slowpokes. I completely appreciate you, and I cannot wait to share this with the world and hear what you think. Hopefully I get to make another one.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time this evening to sit down and talk.
Sure, anytime.
I was going to say, you're then welcome back to talk. If you ever do another installment of Slowpokes, or if you do something else, then you're sure. Like I said, you're more than welcome to come back and maybe
awesome. I will send you. I'll send you a review copy. Okay. And so you can take a look at closer to Halloween. And also, if anybody wants to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at Slowpokes Comic or the Steve Urena. Urena is the last name. And you can follow us on Twitter or Instagram for more. But I definitely appreciate you having me on, and I cannot wait to see what people's thoughts are on this. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, as long as people react to it, I'm cool with that.
Yep. Well, it is definitely an interesting take on sloths, and
sloths are so cuddly and cute. I feel like they're having a moment right now. Like, I always see shirts with people having sloths on it, but they're horrifying. They're absolutely horrifying, and I hope this warns the people. Watch out for those sloths.
Well, if I ever make it out to another zoo, I'll be sure to not look at the sloth in the same way.
Awesome. Listen, if I can do that, then that's the goal.
All right. Well, again, thanks for the talking to us this evening, and stay safe and stay healthy.
You too. Thank you again.
All right. Later.